Hello guys, it's me Butterfly Spirit 314. So guys, I know my hair is kind of crazy right now. I got it done a couple of days ago. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. So, I want to jump right into this. So, I just had somebody knock on my door, okay? And I know that whoever it was knocking on my door, I found it very strange, okay? Because in terms of who comes to visit me, I know, the times when it's normal for people to come and visit me and stuff like that, and when it's not. So somebody just knocked on my door, and I was caught off guard, and it's like, almost eight, it's 8 o'clock at night, it's Christmas Eve. Who the hell is going to be knocking on my door? I know that when it comes to, family of mine who come and visit me, they're typically going to call before they come, right? So whoever it was that was knocking on my door, I was like, it's probably not my family or friends. And I know also because I had just checked my phone, okay, and no messages from any family members. So anyway, and it doesn't mean family members can't come out of the blue, but typically with my family, they would tend to call before they come. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, somebody knocked on my door, and they knocked on my door, and I heard a lady's voice outside the door. And so I went, and I didn't unlock my door or anything. I had the chain on the door and everything. I didn't even open the door. And there was a lady outside the door. She was a light-skinned lady. Looked like, she had this big afro and everything. And she was like, "Oh, is Terrell here? It's your neighbor." And I'm like, "Terrell? Who's Terrell?" You know? And she's like, "Oh, it's your neighbor." So here's the first thing, guys. I know who my neighbors are because when it comes to my neighbors, I can kind of see who's coming and going. And I highly suggest this for you guys too, that, keep an eye out for, what your neighbors look like, what kind of cars they drive. Okay. Because this is going to help you in a situation like what I just had just a few moments ago, where the girl with light-skinned girl with the afro, I knew she wasn't my neighbor. I knew that she wasn't. She said, "Oh, it's your neighbor." Well, if you're my neighbor, then, no, you're not going to know who lives in my house. But, some people know their neighbor's names. Some people don't. I don't know my neighbor's names, but I know their cars and I know what the people look like. All right. So for her to say, "Oh, is Terrell here?" I was like, "Terrell?" There, and I told her, I said, "There's nobody here with that name." You know, And the good thing I did was not open the door. If somebody comes to your door and you don't know them, do not open the door. Do not open the door, especially if you've never seen this person. Here's the reason why I'm going to tell you guys to not open the door for somebody you don't know, even if it's a woman or whatever, right? Um, Here's why. A few years ago, when me and my ex were together, there was a girl that came to our house, and she she said she was looking for somebody. She said she was looking for some guy named Tim, and we knew of somebody with that name, but you know, but we didn't know who this girl was. And this girl was like, white girl and stuff, young girl or whatever. She said she was looking for Tim, but he didn't live here, right? And the person we knew of, we knew she wasn't talking about that person. So the thing is that just like what happened with this girl just a few minutes ago coming and knocking on the door, same thing happened a few years ago, okay, when me and my ex were together. Same thing. So a person coming to the door at nighttime, same as what happened a few years ago, okay, same thing. And the thing is that both cases, the person came at nighttime, after it was dark. Okay. Now, a few years ago, the person didn't say they were our neighbor. This girl saying she's a neighbor. Okay. Now, here's the crazy thing I'm going to tell you. This girl said she was my neighbor. I knew she wasn't my neighbor. Okay, because like I know who my neighbor is and who isn't. And also there's an Airbnb next door too. So I know that there are people who come and go on the Airbnb. So I know I'm going to be seeing people, different people coming from that place, right? The house, but they never come really knock on the door. Except I had one occurrence with the guy who owned the Airbnb, but I ain't really tripping off him. So anyway, and if you guys want me to, I can do a video on like what it's like to live next door to Airbnb. For those of you who are interested, I can make a video about that, what that's like. But I can decide to do that later on down the line if I like remember. Anyway, so when I told the girl that there wasn't anybody here by that name, and she noticed I didn't open the door, she left off, walked down the steps and out the porch, right? And so I turned the light off, and then I went to look out the window, and guess what? I saw a black car parked outside. It was a black like a small, 4-cylinder sedan car, 4-door car. Okay, it was black. And here's the crazy thing. If that was really my neighbor, okay, I know where my neighbors park their cars at because I, pay attention to that, right? I got an idea because when people come home, they tend to park in a similar spot. If you're my neighbor, what are you doing having your car running and having your car parked in front of my house if you're my neighbor? If you're my neighbor, your car would be parked where it's supposed to. And I noticed, I'm like, that's the car you have or the car she had. That's not the same kind of car as what my neighbors have. Now, yeah, my neighbors could have people visiting them. Of course, it's Christmas Eve. Makes sense. But if you're my neighbor, why did you go get into a car that's running and then you get in the car and you wait a couple of minutes and then you do a U-turn and drive up the street and then stop in front of somebody's house on the corner? You get what I'm saying? Y'all get where I'm going with this? Guys, be careful. You got people out here who are up to no good. Just because it was a lady that knocked on my door, it does not mean that I'm going to go ahead and let her know what's going on. I just told her, and here's the thing. I didn't tell her if there was anybody else. I told her there was nobody here by that name. I didn't tell her how many people live with me or any of that. I didn't say none of that. And you guys shouldn't do that either. The reason you don't want to open the door is because somebody could try to rob you. Somebody could. And so if you open the door and you have your door wide open, okay, then somebody could rob you. And I couldn't tell if anybody was behind her. That's why I didn't open the door. Okay. So it's very important not to be so trusting of people. Okay. Like I said, I ain't opened the door. I kept the door locked. I just talked through the door. Because you never know if there's somebody else out there that's behind them that you can't see. Or you never know if they have somebody in your backyard that's trying to look in your backyard to see what they can see. Where I live at, I make sure that you guys may be like, well, why do you have like plastic on the windows and all that stuff? I have plastic on the windows and everything and stuff because I don't like people staying up in my place. Okay. There are some people who are comfortable having their windows open and all that stuff. I don't do none of that because the worst thing you can do is let people know the kind of things that you have in your house. That's the worst thing you can do because you're just inviting people to break into your house if they can see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Also important to make sure you have a camera in the front of your house and the back of your house so you can let people know, move on. All right. Don't bother this place. Okay. Now, some people, to protect themselves, they have different types of weapons. Some people do, some people don't. It's completely your choice. But I just wanted to kind of, give you guys an idea, about, don't be so trusting of people. Don't be so trusting of people, especially if it's at nighttime. During the day, okay? If you can see outside your door and there's somebody that's standing on your porch you don't know. There was once a guy during the day that knocked on my door that I didn't know, and I didn't open the door for him. And he stood there waiting for me to answer the door, and I didn't answer the door for him. If you don't know the person standing outside the door, don't even answer the door. Now, some people are going to debate and say, well, what if it's people for a church or something like that, or voter registration or whatever? People will tend to identify themselves. So just like voter registration people, and they got a clipboard, you can kind of tend to tell those people, because at least you know that those people are going to have a clipboard. Okay, at least they're going to do that. All right. But there's some weirdos out there, some crazy people out there. There are some people up to no good out there. Just because it was a lady standing outside my door, I wouldn't go answer it. Okay, wouldn't go answer it. And it's important, what I'm saying, whether it's a man or woman, don't answer the door. Don't tell people who you have living with you. If you have other people, just say there's nobody here by that name and keep it moving. You ain't got to tell them it's just you there or any of that stuff. If you do have to be home by yourself, you know what I mean? So guys, just be careful out here. Don't do not answer the door for people you don't know. Make sure you keep an eye out for who your neighbors are. Pay attention to when your neighbors move. If your neighbors move and some new people move in, pay attention to the people going into the house. Pay attention to what kind of car they drive. You know what I'm saying? Where they park their car and stuff, because this is about your safety. This is about making sure that you're safe and you're okay. All right. Some people will say, oh, well, you're being paranoid. No, I pay attention to, the comings and goings in my neighborhood. Who's supposed to be here, who ain't supposed to be here. When my neighbors have people that come and visit them, I can tend to tell, who their friends are or whatever, because I pay attention to those people's cars too. You know what I'm saying? And so if that car happens to be there, I'm like, oh, okay. They visited such and such. Oh, okay. And it's very important. There was one of my neighbors last year. They don't live next door anymore, but their car got stolen. And they came to the door and asked me, hey, our car got stolen. Do you know who did it? I said, well, no, I don't. In that case, I opened the door. It was during the day. I knew they were my neighbors. By and large, I don't open the door for people if I don't know who they are, and I don't. Just like the case of tonight, I don't do it, because you never know. Now, you might say, what if there's kids selling candy or something like that? Kids in my neighborhood don't tend to go door to door. There was some kids that were asking if they can cut the grass. They were asking that, but I was outside one day, and so in that regard, I was like, no. But I don't know what happened to those kids. But if they were gonna try to rake grass now, I'd be like, hey, sure, why not? But yeah, just be on the lookout, guys. Be careful as you can, because you got some strange people out here that they up to some craziness, sometimes. So anyway, I hope this helps you guys to keep you safe. I want you guys to be safe out there. Have a safe, happy holiday. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you guys. And thank you for watching. Bye.